it was like a very, very costly experience for me from a reputation standpoint, from a price standpoint, from a learning perspective. But that's when I was like, I need a legitimate subcontractor agreement to put in place just to not only protect myself, but protect my clients as well.
Tyler, today we're going to talk, we are going to get into business.
We get into business heavily.
Yes, actually very heavy, like contracts, like talking about how I'm going to summarize this podcast, how to get your electrician to clean up after themselves.
Exactly. And to use a vacuum. Yeah. So we get into subcontractor engagement and agreements, and how to protect yourself, and stories that I've ran into with subcontractors that have burnt me, and what I did to ensure that didn't happen again, and how you guys can do the same thing with some help from us.
And before that, I'm going to tell you the story about how my wife convinced me to buy a boat for 20 minutes.
Yeah. And we talk about a little bit of excavator goodness.
Oh yeah, excavator talk.
Yeah, it was.
Tyler bought one. I rented one. Now I'm looking at financing one because I can't be left out of it.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, so it's a interesting discussion. Very exciting. I think it's going to be super helpful for everyone. So if you are a GC, or even if you are a subcontractor, right, and you're working other contractor underneath contractors, there's a lot of good information here as to how to protect yourself, because these subcontractor agreements aren't just for the GC. They're also for the client, and they're for the sub. So even if you're a sub, you're a carpenter, you work under somebody else, or you're a GC, a builder, or whatever, there's opportunities here to learn from that and better your business and protect yourself.
Before we get into that, a message from our sponsors. Hey, there's a product out there that I want to talk about, and I want to see if you guys can guess which company makes it, because it might not be that obvious. So this company makes high quality patio doors, and one of their folding doors can be 48 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and you can put it right on the coast thanks to its unique weather protection. This company also gives you the option on this door for flush, low threshold, and drainage sills for the right balance of water protection and seamless design. But this company is not some flashy new startup. Actually, it's far from it. They have a proven track record of high quality products, training, and support that can make installing a massive door like this a breeze. So what company is this? The company I'm talking about is Andersen Windows and Doors, and their product is their folding out swing door. This is one of just several massive glass doors that Andersen makes, which they call big doors. For more information, head over to andersenwindows.com/moderncraftsman.
This podcast is also brought to you by Buildertrend. If you are managing subs, juggling schedules, answering client texts, and you still can't keep up, it's time for an upgrade in your tech. Buildertrend gives you real-time visibility into every job site, from change orders to punch lists, all without leaving your truck. Plus, your clients can experience the transparency and communication they expect and deserve. If you're tired of the chaos and want a better way to stay ahead, go to buildertrend.com/MC demo and schedule a free demo of the platform. Trust me, your team and your clients will thank you.
This podcast is also brought to you by Velux. Have you ever wished you could put just one more window in a living room, or wondered how to add more natural light to a space like a bathroom or even a closet? With Velux skylights, you can enhance any space with natural light, making any room feel bigger, brighter, and better. And natural light is always enhanced by fresh air. Velux skylights open to let fresh air in from above, and built-in rain sensors close at the first sign of any bad weather. The best part about the skylights, you can add all the features of a window to your client's home without sacrificing privacy. Visit veluxusa.com/remodeler to find a Velux product that will add more natural light to any space in your build.
This podcast is brought to you by Harnish. We see innovation and technology in the building industry taking off, but work apparel hasn't changed much until now. Harnish Workwear is disrupting the industry through innovation and design. Their vision for workwear is rooted in performance apparel. To engineer with precision, stripped of excess, deploying cutting-edge fabric technology that pushes the limits of durability and comfort. Designed for clean lines, sharp sophistication, and a commanding presence. I've personally been wearing their gear now for months. Hoodies, pants, performance tees. And what I love is that it's not just durable, it's intentional. Pockets are where they should be, stretch where you need it, and not overheating or freezing your ass off depending on the day. It's the first workwear I've worn that feels like someone actually asked me, hey, what do you need out of your gear? And then went and built it right. So if you're looking for workwear at the highest level, check out Harnish Workwear. Head to harnishworkwear.com and become part of the future of workwear. Happy 4th of July. I guess it's past 4th of July, huh? Excuse me.
It is. What will today be? Today will be happy July 15th.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or July 14th.
So you had I saw you rented an excavator while you were supposed to be on vacation.
That is vacation.
I shut the door, turn the radio on.
No, I left the door open. I had my shorts on, no t-shirt. I had my barefoot shoes on. I was ready for it.
Did the kids get in with you?
Yeah, of course.
They like it.
Of course, Marley was like, she's 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, you got to get out. She's like, no. I'm like, you're literally hurting me.
Especially when they like hit the foot pedals.
Yeah. Well, they actually knew not to do that. But then they would like hang out behind it. I'm like, I got to explain something to you guys. If I can't see you, I'm going to run you over.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, okay.
And that's not like running over with an air-filled tire.
No. It is like bad
10,000 pounds of tracks.
Yeah, I mean, we went up. The weather was pretty great. It was pretty hot most of the week. So good to be out on the water. It was actually like we usually put the boat in the water in May, and we didn't until just that weekend because the weather's been so shit.
Yeah.
So that was good. But then you
get it wrapped every winter? Or do they store it inside?
To be totally honest, I don't know.
Would they take care of it at like your marina?
Yeah. When I picked it up last year, he was like, you know where we keep this, right? I'm like, I don't know, in the garage right here. He goes, nope. We got a storage facility down the street behind the movie theater. I'm like, wait, how many boats are you trailering like off site? I thought everything just landed right out of the water, like forklift, you put it in the rack. He goes, no, we got a couple hundred boats off site.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's actually not that bad. I mean, everyone talks about, how expensive having a boat is, and the best 2 days of having a boat is when you buy it and when you sell it.
Yeah.
I knock on wood, I don't agree with that at all. Like we lost complete steering last year. Like it was September, so we can keep it in the water until like early October. I lost complete steering, and I was on the opposite side of the lake, like 100% other side, like 35-minute ride if I'm cruising at 40. And I was like, I'm just gonna muscle it back. So I'm muscling it back, and we're almost back at our dock, and I let go of the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And the thing just hard left automatically, and we just like whipped the donut in the water. And so thankfully I had slowed down, and whatever. So I drop him off, and I'm like, hey, we're gonna call it the season. Like, we're not gonna try to rush getting this thing fixed. So I bring it to the marina. I'm like, hey, just don't rush this. You have it for the winter, fix it over the winter. And even that repair was like maybe $1,000. I was fully expecting this to be a nightmare. And it was like, I think it was like $1,400 or something like that. It just ended up being a seal that went. And then even storing it's, $2,000 or something like that. They take it out of the water, they winterize it, they put it away, and then they drop it back in the water whenever you want.
My father-in-law had a boat. I mean, they still have a boat up the lake. It's just like a little pontoon boat. It's nothing crazy. But I feel like most people, it's like one of those things where if you don't use them enough, shit goes wrong with them. And even the boat that they have at the lake, it kind of just is an extended dock. Like, take it out maybe once a weekend, if that, and drive it around quickly. But I feel like for the most part, it's just a carbureted engine that's sitting. And there's like little shit that goes wrong on it that the one time you go to use it, it doesn't work. But I mean, it's at this point probably 20 years old, and they're just getting like a bunch of stuff redone on it because it doesn't have that many hours on it, but it's just a little bit tired at this point.
Dude, mine's 23 years old.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's a 2002.
Yeah, that's what.
And you saw the video. Like the thing is,
Yeah.
the guy kept like in insane condition.
Yeah. They is it stored like out on the water? Is it stored? Is it covered? Do they like drop it every time you go to use it?
No, it's in the water.
Yeah.
So I'll share the story. When we got our cabin, it was like COVID, and we weren't planning on buying the cabin. And I think you know, I told you at the time we drove up there because we were literally bored. We had nothing to do, locked in the house. And Meg's family had this had a house on the same street that this cabin was listed. So we just drove up, you know, just to get out of the house and get some fresh air. And we went up there, and we felt, I guess I fell in love with it, and I was like, let's just buy it. Yeah. And Meg's like, we don't have the money. Like we didn't. We were renovating our house, and we just had 2 kids at the time, and I said, let's just throw it in an offer and figure it out. And we did. They well, actually, the longer part of that is it had been on the market for 6 months, no offers. We submitted an offer, 3 offers that day, because I think everyone was like, COVID, get out. And I submitted another offer, and I said, I'll pay $3,000 more than anyone's offer, up to, you know, it was like $15,000 over asking or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, the other 2 offers are asking, so you're $3,000 over asking, which was great. Like the value of it's doubled since we bought it. Amazing. But I said to Meg, I was like, we are not getting a boat. I just want to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something I'm interested in getting. I don't want to deal with it. We're not doing it. And that lasted all of 2 years. And she started sending me pontoon boats, and she was like, let's just get one. Like, it would be so fun. The kids will love it. And finally I was like, listen, Meg, with all due respect to the people that have pontoon boats, I'm too bougie for that. Like, I'm not buying a pontoon. Literally everyone has a pontoon. I'm not doing it. If we're buying a boat, we're buying a Chris Craft, and that's it. And we can't afford one, so we're not getting one. So for months, she would send me used Chris Craft boats. And they'd be in Florida, they'd be in Michigan, they'd be in like all over the place. And then she sent me one in New Hampshire, and there was 198 photos of the boat on the listing, none of the entire boat. They were all up close. So I'm like, dude, this thing looks brand new. And so I drove up there and walked in the garage, restored Peterbilt in one bay, boat in the other bay. And I'm chatting with him, and he's like, you like it? I'm like, I do. And I think you're asking a fair price. He goes, hold on. I'm going to take off another $5,000. I was like, what? What are you negotiating for me? He goes, you just seem like a nice dude. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that. I'm like, and he goes, do you have a slip? And I was like, I don't. He goes, then I'm not selling it to you.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And he goes, I know how this plays out. Your wife, you're going to go home. You're going to tell your wife you got a boat. She's going to be excited. You're going to go to the lake. Where do you keep it? You can't put it in the water. There's no slip. Can't do it. I'm not allowing you to buy this. He goes, you have 7 days to figure out if you can find a slip.
Yeah.
So I had a 2-hour ride home. So I just went dock, like marina by marina, closest to my house. 2 year wait list, 200 people on the list. Every marina. And the problem is that boat's a 10.5-foot wide beam. So you need a large slip. You can't, like, not a normal slip.
Yeah.
So those are even fewer and further between. So randomly on Facebook, this marina posted, hey, we just added, I think it was like 10 more slips to our dock. First come, first serve. I called. They were like, we have 2 left. Like, immediately. 2 left. I was like, I'll take it. They're like, it's a Mediterranean slip. I was like, no problem. And they're like, do you know how to dock a boat in a Mediterranean slip? Meanwhile, I've never driven a boat.
Yeah.
Like, beyond like maybe one time I rented one.
So I got to figure it out.
And I'm not even sure if I have that memory accurate or not. And they were like, I was like, yep, no problem. Mediterranean slip. I can tie that up. He's like, then the slip's yours. So I call the guy back. We're all set. Where are you keeping it? I tell him. He's like, okay, you can come pick it up whenever you want. This is the price, blah, blah, blah. So I pick it up. I put it in the water. Where was I going with this story?
That you weren't going to get a boat.
No, but you asked me if I keep it in the water.
Oh yeah.
So I, for the first time, I bring the boat over. And for those that don't know what a Mediterranean slip is, it's when you back the boat in, there's no docks on the side of you. And in the front of 30 feet out off the dock are 2 pilings. So you have to put 2 ropes per side around the piling and tie it back to your boat, and then back up and then tie it against the dock. I've never driven a boat. For that year, Meg and I fought every time we went on the boat. Like some of the worst fights that we've ever been in our entire relationship. Because she's like, just move it that way. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It's also a 2002. There's no bow thrusters. Thankfully, it's a dual motor, so you can kind of screw with the forward reverse. But I didn't know that. I definitely didn't know that the first year. So all that to be said, we keep it in this slip. Nowadays, like we when we took it out on the 4th this year, we go out on the boat for the fireworks.
Yeah, which
is a pretty insane thing because there's literally 1,000 boats floating in the water.
Yeah,
and when the fireworks are over, it's pitch dark.
Yeah,
no, you don't have lights in the boat, and people are all headed out of the bay in the same direction. And I'm sober as a clam, like. I can barely see where I'm going. And I'm like, the fact that people are drinking doing this is insane to me.
Dude, makes it easier.
Apparently. Like you get the cigarette boats like blasting by you, just like shooting over the top of the wave. But there's like 20 people on our boat. So I get to our dock and everyone's chit-chatting, and then I get to the dock and no one's making a noise. Like everyone is just like dead ass quiet. Cause I mean the swells are like 4 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm up and down 4 feet, and I'm maneuvering the boat backwards, like very slowly, trying to get into this slip, tying off on the pilings, and I do it. Everything's good, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm not interested in doing this."
I've never been a boat guy. It's all right. I don't like being out on the water just baking in the sun. We'll go out and tie up and swim for a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, we have the cover. Like we go somewhere. Like it's either we tie up and swim, we go to a friend's house, or we go get coffee and cookies and ice cream and shit like that.
Yeah. My brother's, I guess, wife's dad got a fishing boat that we went out on a couple times, and it's fun. I just like, it's not. I don't need to do it every weekend. But there's some people that's like, that's all they have, their boat. I mean, there's people who friggin' sail around the world or like boat around the world, which is kind of crazy as well. When we were at my dad's place in Belize, I forget what country it is down there, but like you can only stay there if you're not a citizen for a certain amount of time. And then you have to like leave port for 6 months. So there's like boats that come and just will dock in ports all around the Caribbean there because they have to get out of those. It might be Nicaragua for like a certain amount of time, but they just live on boats that they live on, and that's all they do. And they have like their dogs and their little boat that comes off the back, and they're just like living on boats. It's wild.
I feel like Meg's close to that. Like she's like, let's go to the boat every day.
Yeah.
And it's work for me. I'm the captain. I'm the one who has to do everything.
Yeah.
Like she gets obviously deals with the kids, but so going back to your original point, she's like, hey, the kids are exhausted. I feel like we just need a rest day. So I'm like, totally. And I was outside and I was just pacing around the house. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, should we fix the driveway? She's like, Nick, no, listen. It's a rest day. Just go sit down and chill. Like nothing's happening today. We're just going to take a day of rest. So I go sit down in one of the Adirondack chairs and I close my eyes and I'm like laying in the sun.
Yeah.
And I'm with my eyes closed. I'm like, I wonder if they could get an excavator here right now. It was 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll make a deal with myself. I'm like, if they can deliver it today, I'll do it. If they can't, I won't do it.
Yeah.
And they were like, we can be there in 30 minutes.
But
So
it just was all washed out.
yeah, it washed out, and then the plow, like when they plowed it, the truck got stuck. So it was just like a huge rut. And it was fine, like you can make it up, but it was just a mess. So I'm on the phone with them, and I give them like $500 for 24 hours. And I did it on July 3rd. So that means I got July 3rd, 4th, and then they picked it up on the 5th. So they're like, yep, no problem. Take my credit card. I go inside to cook mac and cheese for the kids because I couldn't even get the water to boil, and I heard them unloading it.
Really?
I was like,
local.
So I went down the street. I'm like, was this on the truck? They're like, no, once you called, we just figured you were going to do it. So we just put it on the truck and headed over.
That's funny.
And he was like, and I'm literally shirtless in my short fitness shorts and barefoot shoes. And he's like, do I need to walk you through this? I'm like, I got it, bro. He's like, all right, enjoy.
It's so funny. It's so much fun though.
It is.
It's like zone out. I usually throw on a podcast or music, just get to work.
I don't think I even turned the radio on. I was just, see, the difference between you and I is I think you know how to shift down.
Yeah.
And like cruise. I'm trying to fix that driveway as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And there was a few times, and I can tell because it's when I move, like when I sit in the seat and I move my ass out, and I'm leaning over the seat. Yeah. And then I'd be like, and then I would recenter and be like, all right, hold on. And I would sit all the way back and then like casually sit in it.
Yeah.
And then I would start moving the controls slow and like trying to pick up like a tiny little twig, seeing how accurate I could be. I was like, all right, this is Tyler's speed right here. Like slow, easy.
Yeah, not all jerky.
Yeah, and then I'm like, "Where's the rabbit button?"
You can't turn on the rabbit button. That's the problem.
You can't.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, it's crazy though. You get like pretty proficient pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, but a buddy of mine up there, he's like, I keep wanting to do it. I just have no idea how to drive them.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you'd figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, just call DigSafe so you're not digging over any utilities, and keep it on slow.
Yeah.
Like, don't put it on, like, if you don't know how to operate, do not turn it up.
Yeah.
Like, learn it nice and slow.
Yeah, that's what I did. Like, once you get the hang of it, you could turn I mean, I still run the hydraulics low unless I'm actually doing something that requires it, which is very rare.
Yeah. I just use the speed when I was compacting it with the tracks.
Yeah.
My driveway's probably,
and they're so slow compared to like a skid steer. They're so slow.
Yeah, it's probably 800 feet maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just wanted to get the thing compacted.
So when I got it, because I got it dropped off in my house, and then I brought it the property we bought's 2 lots down, and I was like, I'm not going to put this in my trailer. I'm just going to drive it down the street. So I like pulled out onto the road, and I was like, damn, this thing's way slower than I thought. And then there's a bus behind me. And it was Selby, and the kids on the bus were like, is your dad driving an excavator down the street right now? She's like, yeah.
It's amazing. Dude, my dad, I remember years ago as a kid, my dad had a Bobcat, like a skid steer, and there was a massive snowstorm, and he brought his plow truck home. It was an F350, 9-foot blade, dropped the blade, went up the driveway, and the hydraulic line blew.
Oh.
And he's like, fuck. So he got it back to the shop, and he hopped in the Bobcat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We go back to the shop. He puts me in the Bobcat. I don't even know if I have my license. He goes, I want you to go right home. I don't care if someone is begging you to plow their driveway. Do not go anywhere. And it was 2 miles.
Yeah.
So, and a Bobcat, I mean, I think what's their top speed? 8 miles an hour or something?
I mean, compared to an excavator, they move, but not that fast.
I think it's 8 or 12 miles an hour, something like that. So here, I'm 15, cruising down. There's snow everywhere, like just cruising down. We get to the house. My dad pulls in his regular truck. He's like, all right, I'll plow. I shit you not, dude. He gets in the thing and he spins it and blows the tire off the fucking rim.
Are you serious?
And he was at this point, he's just like livid.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just remember, I'm like, dude, I think I want to say we ended up, that either was when he bought the snowblower or he had just had it but hadn't used it or something.
Yeah.
Like that. And I was like, dude, I just spent an hour and a half driving home.
I had to do some work on the softball fields, and they're like maybe a mile and a half from our house, probably a mile and a half. And I was like, I'm not loading this like tractor up to go down there. So I just drove it down the street, just put the hazards on. It was like, whatever. It's kind of like farmy out here. I was like, if anyone's gonna pull me over,
triangles on the back.
Yeah, I'm literally going to repair the town softball fields. Like, what are they gonna say? But I've also been known to drive down the street with my tractor to go to our other property with the dog on my lap. And I had somebody beep at me, like super pissed that I was doing that. I was like, shut up, mind your own business. I mean, I was on like a 45-mile-an-hour road in a tractor with a dog on my lap, but there was like no need for them to be beeping.
Yeah. I
wasn't hurting them. One thing I wanted to talk about real quickly is I texted you and Catherine, who does a lot of our paperwork, back end logistics for the podcast, sponsorship, correspondence, all that, just kind of our the behind the scenes person for the podcast. But I texted her and I was like, yo, post this to trial reels for the next week straight. And so that's something that Morgan had told us, and this is like completely irrelevant, but I was like, if people are listening to this, maybe they could try it, because it does work. And like, I don't know if you've tried it. Have you tried it? Anything with
I've tried trial reels. Dude, we just took a hard left. We went from short shorts to excavators.
Well, I want to talk about something serious, but then I was like, damn, this is like something I think people could use. So
to answer your question, I've tried it, but I've not experienced what Morgan mentioned.
So basically, trial reels. I don't know if everyone can do trial reels or not.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have to be a business account. I'm not sure, but what they do is it posts a reel to it doesn't put it on your feed, and it posts it to non-followers. Mm-hmm. So Morgan was like, yeah, just find a reel that went viral, copy and paste the reel, the exact same cover photo, all the text, everything, and paste it as a trial reel and post it. And you can do it like 7 days in a row. And it basically dumps that reel out to all new people who aren't on your feed. I guess when they're scrolling, it'll come up. And it doesn't do anything to the original reel, right? You're not going to get followers on that. You're not going to get likes on that, but it will get a handful of new eyes on your posts through a proven reel that's already gone viral once before. And it ended up getting a fair amount of engagement and action and like followers and all of that stuff through content that I already made. Yeah. And it wasn't flooding it or like putting it on my feed for people who had already seen it, which I thought was pretty neat. And it definitely worked.
So that's what Morgan talked about that at the summit. And I thought it was super interesting because I've been using it in the reverse of that, which is what I believe the reason that they built the trial reels is the split test.
You can post it if it works. Yeah.
Well, so I was testing a different hook for a video.
Yeah.
And basically posted both of them in trial and posted one with one hook and one with the other to see if they would perform different.
Yep.
But it's like, that's super interesting because you're basically doing the reverse where it's like, I already know this one works.
Correct.
Let's get a bunch of people to see it again.
And it just sends it to new people. Cause I mean, there's like a very small amount of people who see your stuff. So it just gets new people engaging with your account as well. Not that that's what everyone's looking for, but I found it, I wanted to try it and I found it like pretty interesting. It's fun too, because you get like a ton of trolls because it's not people who follow you. So it's just a bunch of random people on the internet who just like talk shit. Right. So I haven't had people talk that much shit on my Instagram in a while. So it got me like back in the mix of people just like being complete assholes. And I was like, damn, I can't believe you have nothing better to do with your life. But that was fun. So if you you have a business account, if you want to give that a shot, or you're trying to get a little bit more engagement, get the word out, get some new followers. That's something that she told us about. I don't know how long. Like, I feel like it's kind of a hack, and at some point they'll become privy to it. But yeah, I thought that it was an interesting little test that I did, and it did work. So I was telling Catherine to do that with one of our reels on our Modern Craftsman Instagram, just to drum up a little bit more engagement and possibly attract some new listeners and stuff like that. So that was where that text message came from. So the reason that came up is because I've been in the office after 4th of July, working on content to be adding to our course, working on Modern Craftsman, finally, getting back into it, developing coursework, developing content, spreadsheets, all of that stuff, and just getting loose ends in order. And so that's what made me think of that. But that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Just like engaging subcontractors, and most of what we discuss and that we talk about is like, at what point are we engaging them, and it's usually during the pre-construction stage of things. But then, like, some of the how you're engaging them to ensure that you're covering your ass, you're covering your client's ass, legally, ethically, and what you can do to prevent somebody from getting burnt. So obviously, like, we all use subcontractors, no matter what type of business you are. But how are we involving those subs? When are we involving those subs? And what are some of the documents that we put in place to ensure that we don't get burnt? So the way I'm going to start this, and I'm sure that you probably have stories as well, but prior to having like a more legitimate subcontractor engagement, it was somewhat off the cuff, right? You meet these subs, you develop a rapport with them. It's kind of a handshake deal. You discuss payment terms and schedule of pay and all of that, and it's more of a gentleman's agreement. And I had a subcontractor that a lot of the paperwork was in order. They had full pricing sheet where I could go through, right? If I wanted, it was a hardwood flooring sub. If I wanted to price a job, I almost didn't need to reach out to them. They had this full spreadsheet where it had like refinishing costs, new costs for all their different tasks, different types of wood, different finishes, like very legit, very professional. They came and met me in person. I saw some of their work, and I ended up hiring them for a project. And we were redoing a kitchen, and the kitchen didn't have hardwoods, but the rest of the first floor did. And it was an oak. I wasn't sure what type of oak it was, but I was fairly certain it was red oak. And
why were you, I'm just curious, like, what made you think that?
I pulled up a piece of wood. Well, it just, the grain on it seemed red, the type of house, the age it was built. It wasn't an old house, so it didn't really make sense. And then I thought it was red oak. And then when I got a hold of the sub came out. He was like, nope, this is white oak, 100%. I do this every single day.
Yeah.
So I didn't sign anything with him, but he gave me a price for the job. He was supplying all the lumber. He was going to weave in, sand the existing floors, restain everything, finish it. And like, it was important to me because the rooms were chopped up, but still, obviously, I wanted to try and match like the cut of the wood, the selection of the wood, and the type of the wood. So when I went to go demo, I pulled up a threshold and I looked at the end grain, and I'm like, I feel like this is red oak. So I called the sub in again after we start. And I was like, dude, this looks like red oak to me. And he's like, 100% white oak. And I'm like, all right. So he installs all of this white oak. The client's actually thrilled because she liked white oak better, probably a nicer wood. And they stain it and they finish it, and it just looks completely different. Like, the two woods don't look alike at all. Like, one's like a greenish hue and one is red and pink. So long story short, the guy's telling me, no, it's the different cut, this, that, and the other thing. I'd used this guy on other jobs prior to 2 or 3 other jobs prior to this. Everything had been great. And then when this came down to it, and it was like, listen, he was trying to like sand certain areas to make it match. And I was like, I just don't think that this is white oak. So I said, let's meet at the job. I'll get a kit to test it because you can test it, and we'll meet at the job and we'll see what it is. And at that point, he pretty much bailed on me. I paid him for most of the job minus the final payment because he was basically at the point where he had sanded and stained and finished it, so there was a very minimal price left, and he pretty much burnt me. And then he told me, because I didn't pay him the rest of the money, that he was like, nothing was wrong with the install, he was going to put a lien on the house. So I sent it over to my uncle, who's an attorney, and my uncle's like, this dude is operating under his uncle's business, which is actually closed. Like, the proof of insurance he gave you, the business license he gave you, is all like fake. It's just fudged. So this was, I guess, probably 7 or 8 years ago, where I was like, I need something more legitimate to protect myself, because not only did this delay the project, but then the client was like, well, I really like the white oak, so I don't want to rip out the white oak and put in red oak. So then I had to foot the cost to replace all of the existing red oak with white oak, and I had to eat the cost of the money that I had paid him, the new installation, the new materials, and then also just like the delay when you're finishing a job like this and it's their entire first floor and kitchen, just like weeks of downtime securing the material, finding a new subcontractor, all of that stuff. So it was like a very, very costly experience for me from a reputation standpoint, from a price standpoint, from a learning perspective. But that's when I was like, I need a legitimate subcontractor agreement to put in place, just to not only protect myself, but protect my clients as well.
We'll come back to the agreement, because I think what's important is there's a handful of things that you rattled off that you did well. Obviously, you used them on a handful of projects. But one of the things you said is when you were interviewing him, you went and looked at some of his work.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is a huge issue, because people are constantly like, how do I vet a subcontractor? And, you know, we feel as though we have a pretty robust system as well. Part of it is, you know, we're getting referrals, and then I like to check the before and after trade. So the guy that works before him and the guy that works after him. You know, we were doing this for foundations a couple of years ago, and I got a couple of recommendations for foundation. Talk to them. They all seem legitimate. And I end up calling, I was like, hey, who's framing the house that you just poured? And he's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So I call that framer and I'm like, how's his foundation? He's like, great guy, gets it done fast. It's always at least 3/4 of an inch out, if not more. And so then I'm like, all right, he's out. Hey, who do you like framing on? He's like, oh, you got to talk to this kid, Matt. So then we talk to Matt. We go back, basically work backwards from that. And then, hey, Matt's great. He fits. But where it went wrong, right? Like, and easy to look back and be like, hey, this is what you did wrong. But it's the whole trust but verify.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like, I think that's white oak. And, you know, it's easy to, you know, lean on your trade, but there's nothing wrong with verifying it. And there's ways to do it respectfully.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't have to be like, I'm going to get a test kit and I'm going to prove that this is wrong. Like, don't. Like, hey, he thinks it's red oak. You're convinced it's red oak, and he says it's white. Go get the test.
Yeah.
Do the test. And if you're right, have the conversation. Because if you're wrong and you're going to storm, you know, make a big deal out of it, you're going to look like an asshole.
Yep.
And so obviously the trust but verify. And then furthermore, having some sort of protection in said agreement where it's like, hey, you know, you are 100% confident that this is white oak. You're responsible for verifying that this is the correct material, that it should match. Like, these are our expectations. And that's what it comes down to. I say that with, I think the subcontractor agreement, we do a subcontractor agreement and a work order. So the subcontractor agreement is master. It's a master agreement. And then each job gets a work order that references that. But that's just a tool. Like, we're not heavily leaning on that as we're negotiating the job. Everything is done before that. What's the scope of work? What's the assumption? What are your expectations? Like, I'm expecting you to clean up after yourself. Yes, it's going to also say it in the contract, but I'm going to communicate that to you. Because I had a trade a couple of years ago who didn't want to work for us because our subcontractor agreement's 40 pages.
Yeah.
And allegedly it's the biggest subcontractor agreement that any sub around here has worked with. So we always offer to be like, hey, this is going to be a big, robust agreement. Happy to walk through through the specifics with you, in person. We know that this can be daunting. This is very much designed to protect all parties involved. That means us, you, and the homeowner. And there's a lot here, but we want to make sure that, we're doing the right thing.
I think it's also just a place for these conversations to live where they're substantiated, where it's like, hey, we had this conversation. I want you to sign off on this work order or this addendum to the work order that you're confirming this is actually white oak, right? Where it's not just hearsay. It's not a conversation that we had on the job. And it doesn't need to be a 40-page document. So for our pre-con course, we did create subcontractor agreements, a master and then a work order. So what you were saying is basically you have this master agreement, right? And that is the contract between you and the subcontractor, the overarching agreement that outlines the relationship. If you work for them for a year, if you work for them for 2 years, if there's 5 jobs going on at once, you have this overlying agreement that covers the more general aspects of that relationship. And then your work orders are project specific. So you don't have to enter into a full contract every single time and state those requirements every single time, right? You have work orders that relate back to that master agreement. So it's less paperwork. Once you have a sub sign into this, it's just like getting your insurance certs, right? Or your W-9s. Like you get the W-9 once, and then they're just updating their insurance certs. They don't have to send you all the information again and again and again. It's the same thing. Like you start working with a subcontractor, you vetted them, you have this master that you enter into a contract with them, and then each job that comes up, you can have a specific work order as per that job. And also that allows you, like, if it's a smaller job and they want different payment terms, or they want to be paid 50% upfront and then 50% at completion, rather than like a job that normally takes a year, you have the ability to kind of tailor each project, but it doesn't need to be a 40-page document. Anything would on my behalf would have been better than nothing.
Right. I wanted to. So when I was in commercial construction, we were doing a $100 million high rise, and part of my job as an APM was collecting and verifying insurance certificates, which, looking back, is wild because I printed out the example, and it used to be plastered beside my screen in my office, and they would send it to me, and I would print it out, and I would cross-reference, like, do they have this, this much umbrella, this much for workers' comp, and if they did, and we were named as additionally insured, I would check it off. They had it. It wasn't until I was in business for myself that I got an insurance certificate that didn't look right, and I went down this rabbit hole. I'm like, I wish there was, because Buildertrend has a great software where you can track certificates and put expiration dates on it. So when it's expired, it will notify them and say, hey, you need to update your certificate or you're not going to get paid. Like, we use that. But I wanted a tool that basically would verify whether it was accurate or not. And I spent weeks looking for, like, is there a software that does this? Like, there has to be something. And I end up asking my insurance agent. He goes, that's part of our job.
Yeah.
He's like, just send them to me and we verify it.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm like, that's crazy to think that when I was 21 years old and we had $100 million worth of construction going on, that I was the one that said, yep, he's got a
good to go.
And yeah, I mean, so that's for anyone listening, Tyler talks about the fact that this guy made it up. I mean, nowadays,
It's not, dude. It's not that hard. Like
it's
it
not.
looked exactly like my insurance. It's
Why
like
wouldn't it's a
like it's
text
so
document?
easy.
It's a
Yeah.
text doc. I literally can open it up in Acrobat and enter any
Looking at it,
information.
there's no way unless you have the ability to look into like the records. There's
Right.
no way that you'd be able to tell it was fake.
So we just kick them to the insurance agent. Yep, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And actually, like a different story about that. When I was at that developer and we were doing a renovation on a building, we had this guy. His only job was to install these access panels. I wish I remembered his name. Very interesting individual. But he would install like literally one access panel a day, and he would just not show up for a few days and then come back and then install the next. It was like a nightmare project, and so bizarre. And then one day he had a helper with him, and they were up in the man lift, and his helper's literally up there with like a grinder, like cutting the metal. And my boss came out and it's like, what's going on here? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, his insurance doesn't cover this. I'm like, cover what? He's like, he's a sole proprietor. He has no workers' comp. He cannot have a helper.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, I didn't even register. Like I was like, cool, he got help. He's gonna get this thing done. Like, get that kid. It was a kid. Get that kid off the man lift. Go back to work.
Yep.
I was like, damn.
Now it's good to know even just like what's included in the and Tyler from the Levitt Insurance that we had out at CCS also discussed that, where he's like, you guys don't have to know what coverages you need, how these things read, what it actually means. That's what we're here for. But yeah, like I said, so what we created for the course is somewhat of a baseline for you to use for these agreements, and to be able to tailor them for your needs. But again, it's in the format of that master agreement between the contractor and the sub, and it's going to spell out dates of when the master agreement was put into effect. Obviously, the contractor, the subcontractor, just like any other contract, you have terms of the contract. You spell out the scope of work, what they do, the obligations, payment terms, the insurance required, dispute resolution, termination for convenience if you have those type of clauses, and then obviously a signature, and then that is going to be the master that you use for every project that you're doing. And then again, you have these independent work orders. So say I'm using the sub, I have them get into my system with the master. They send me all their insurance paperwork. I run that through all the appropriate people and they check out. Now it's like, all right, I want them to actually bid a job. And the reason why this is in the pre-con course is because we're engaging subs so early on in this process that I want subs on the project that have checked out, that we've vetted, that fit into, like, check all the boxes and are on board with this master agreement. And then when we go to bid these projects, not from the outset, right? The first time they look at the plans, I'm not having them sign this work order, but when we go move towards contracting, I want a specific work order for whatever the scope of work is at this point, right? So it's going to have a lot of that same information is redundant, but not the bigger terms, or like those overarching terms, right? So you're also going to get into scope of work. You're going to get into what your expectations are as far as schedule, compensation, what their payment terms are, what if there's any special insurance that you need for this job, logistics with sites, who the representatives are, all the documents, the appropriate documents, and then the signatures again. And the whole reason why we're implementing this at this point is because we're trying to establish trust with all of our partners on these projects. And that trust has to be instilled from pre-construction on. And we're bringing these subs and they're coming into these projects and they're meeting our clients. And we want to make sure that all of this is legitimate, that they have skin in the game just as we do, and that we're doing this as professionally as possible. That's how we bring the value. That's how we sell the pre-construction. That's how the clients end up paying for the pre-construction, because it's all legit and it's not just flying by the seat of your pants. You actually have legally binding agreements, which is really important. And like you said, this isn't something that none of my contracts with my clients and none of my contracts with subcontractors, vendors, I'm never really like let's refer to the contract.
Yeah, right. It's like
Right. But like
page 62.
it's there as a worst case. And like
Mhm.
there's things that Nick, you hired an attorney to go 3 years with you. And there's things that are in there that other people might not require. So it's something
Mhm.
that you should do, right? Create the baseline. And then when you're ready, or if you have an issue, reach out to an attorney and figure out how you can revise this to better suit your needs. But having nothing is like, it's not an excuse to not have anything in place to protect yourself, that you don't have the time for it, you don't understand, you don't have the money for it, you don't have the systems in place, you're not doing enough work. Like if you're in business, you need to protect yourself. And that was really the point for us to create something like this, to give people a starting point to understand like how they can protect themselves. Because I've gotten burnt, not terribly, but I've gotten burnt by subs before. And I like, there's not a worse feeling than your reputation taking a hit
Mhm.
and having to bear the financial implications of something like this when a sub doesn't show up and doesn't execute the agreement that you basically hired them for. And you have to go to your clients and be like, hey, I didn't really have anything formal with them, so this is what we have to do moving forward, or you're just paying out of pocket for it. um, so it's something that it's pretty simple to do. And it's definitely something that I don't think I would need. I don't need a 40-page agreement with my subcontractors, but having like the necessary things in there to protect myself and my clients is somewhat of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I mean, and it evolves. Like, as you said, I referred to or hired an attorney to go through it, and there was just things that came up.
Yeah.
And it's always when someone questions something, right? It's like, well, filming was a big issue, like with some trades. They were like, hey, you're filming everything. It's like, yeah, didn't you know that? And they're like, yeah, but I didn't agree to be on camera.
Yeah.
It's like, shit, you're right. I should have that in our subcontractor agreement. And any new sub that we work
You
with,
have like a media release in there.
yeah, any new sub we work with, they're like, why am I signing this? It's like, here's a link to our YouTube, here's a
Yeah.
link to our Instagram. If you don't want to be on camera, totally fine. This is just to cross the T's, dot the I's, because there's gonna be a camera there.
And at the end of the day, if your subs can't you're not engaging them and having them sign an agreement or a contract so that you could stick it to them.
No.
Like it's to protect them just as much as it is to protect you and to protect your clients. And if they don't understand that, or they're not comfortable with that, it's probably a relationship that you should, walk away from. Because it tells me that they're not willing to step up and do what needs to be done. Um, if I don't have the reputation of being like, I'm just going to stick it to you. I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to I want to protect my subs just as much
Well, that goes
as I
back to,
protect my own business.
yeah, it goes back to the idea of like walking through the agreement and pointing those things out. It's like, if you're expecting someone to be responsible for all their own cleanup and trash, like just say that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people get in trouble. It's like, well, why wouldn't they automatically assume that why wouldn't they clean up their own trash? It's like, I don't know, maybe the other 10 builders they work with have a full-time labor on site, so they can focus on the higher dollar tasks, and they get someone else cleaning.
Yeah, it's also like, if I don't have this in there, but there's people who I know who have verbiage in their contracts where they can back charge subcontractors if they have
Right.
to clean up. And like, whether you have that in or not, I think that that's something that's tough to actually like engage with
Yeah.
or hold them to. Like, maybe that's there to keep them accountable, but that's not something that I would really be like, oh, I'm charging you, unless I mean, it happened. It's actually, you're paying your
Oh,
people to go and clean it up. But like,
yeah.
typically a conversation
Right.
solves that. But
I mean, dude, Brad told a story. I forget. I think it was when I might have this wrong, but I think he worked for some sort of electrician or worked in commercial. And I think something with the electricians, they were working in like a hospital or something, and it was for every piece of wire shield that they would find on the floor,
Yeah.
it was like $10 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they just were like, hey, like this place needs to be spotless. So every piece we find is a $10 back charge, and they implemented it, and like everyone cleaned up.
You would, like, if you
Right.
were held accountable. I love my electrician, and he's pretty good. I mean, honestly, there's no sub that I have that leaves the job as if they showed up. Like, they'll do
Right.
pretty good even if I'm there, but like none of them leave it the way that it was when they got there.
No, but if you're able to set the expectation up front, and then the more people that follow that, the more people that follow that. Right.
Correct.
Like if the first guy's leaving it clean, the next guy's more apt. He might not, but he's more apt to leave it clean.
Yeah. But I had a job that the scope just kept on creeping and creeping. It was down the shore in an older, it was all lath and plaster. And the people, like, as always, live in renovation, trying to like isolate certain areas of the house. So I was trying to keep it clean. And being that it's down the shore is an hour from me. So like I wasn't going to, it didn't make sense to charge my clients, right? If I need to go down there, like it wasn't the type of job where it's like I need to just go meet with the electrician. That's 4 hours worth of work that I have to charge them for. It didn't have that type of budget. So I had my electrician go down there and work without me there. He was actually their electrician from home too, so I was comfortable with it. But I sent him a picture of the vacuum, and I was like, it's like, Darren,
Introducing.
I said, Darren, when you're done, this thing is called a vacuum. I was like, there's a little button on top and you switch it and it'll make a lot of noise, but I promise you it's not scary. You just take the one hose and it sucks stuff up like magic. And he's like, you're such an asshole. I remember sending, dude, I was dying laughing. And he knows me. He's like, you're such an asshole. But yeah, that's like a huge thing for me, that the conversation was always just a gentleman's agreement, right? I have a subcontractor come to a job and you look, this is what the job looks like. These are my expectations. Cleanliness, organization, like leaving your tools organized is super important to me. And that's something that I can put in the work agreement that is like, that's a huge part of my business and a reason why people hire me and a reason why I get more leads, because every single day the job is cleaned up and the tools are organized or put away. And that's something that I need my subcontractors to abide by as well. And that's something that I need them to sign off on, that they're going to do it. And I need to have that accountability there, that I can hold them to that if need be, not just like, hey man, I told you this needed to be cleaned up. So I'm excited to get that into the course. And again, the reason why a lot of people ask us, and we just got into this at CCS, but like, at what point are you engaging your subs in your process? And it's going to be different for everyone else. But for me, it's as early as possible that I'm not wasting their time. So like typically for me, if I get a job that comes across my plate and I'm working on napkin numbers, I'm going to try and look at other jobs that we've done that have been similar. And I'll say, hey, this is a similar scope. I'm gonna put this much money on it. And then when we get to the next round, where it's like maybe we have some sort of pre-construction agreement in place, but it's not like a full comprehensive package where we're just dialing those numbers, getting a little more accurate. Maybe I reach out to my electrician and I say, hey, this is the type of project. Here are a couple pictures. It's similar to this job that we did. Here are some of my concerns. Like, does my number look accurate here? Not wasting that much of their time. They're still not coming to the job. Yeah, you're good. No, I would put this much more in, or here's something that might make it go up. So I can have that conversation with the client. But then when I sign somebody up for a pre-construction, I'm allocating time and money to the subcontractor experience. And if my subs need to get paid for that time, it's worked into that, right? Where it's like, if they need to come out and they need to spend 2 hours walking the site and then preparing some sort of estimate for me, none of my subs ask me for money. But if my electrician said, hey, I got to get paid for this, then I absolutely would cover their time to do that.
Well, I mean, the alternative is what everyone has done, or some of you probably are still doing it, where it's you get a job on your desk, you're pricing it. Maybe you have a pre-con, maybe you don't. You call your plumber. It's like, hey, do you mind looking at this? I just need a rough number, ballpark. Not going to hold you to it. Just a quick ballpark. I don't have to. Okay, it's 5 bathrooms. It's a single family. This is what. There's no gas, but like, I'm thinking it's 65,000. Oh yeah, okay, that works. Great. Plumber doesn't hear about that job until 3 months later. It's like, hey, we got that job. It's like, awesome. It's like, yeah. He's like, all right. Can you send me a contract? Well, I got to look at the drawings. It's like, no, you said 65 grand.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, based on a phone call, dude. And it's like, dude, that's all I got in my budget. You got to make it work. Like you got to sharpen your pencil. And then they either do, or then you go try to find someone else to do it for 65 grand because you carried this number that was a ballpark that was quote unquote not going to be held to. Versus, hey, I got this job. I'm under pre-construction with the client. I'm retained for pre-construction. So there's a little bit more weight here. One in 2 projects convert to a real construction project. I'd like to involve you in this project and understand what the cost of this is going to be. And ultimately, right now, this is what I know about the project. It's a 5-bedroom single family, and I have about 20 sheets of drawings, and they're going to continue to revise or update that design. But right now I'm just looking to get some sort of pricing feedback. And it's like, okay, sounds like this is a pretty serious job. It's like, yes, I'm being upfront. I don't want you to engineer the system because the system's not engineered, but I like a realistic number to be considered. Because now they understand that it's real, and they're going to spend more time on it and give you something that's accurate. Yep. And in that process, they're also going to probably say, hey, listen, like, it looks like there's, I see the 5 bedrooms in here, but they're literally none of them stack. So I could shave 15% off the cost if you tell the architect just to stack the bathrooms. Because right now I got to run 6 different stacks up to the second floor and then through the attic. And you're going to get that feedback that's going to put you in a good position on the pre-con side. And to your point, I've had a couple of trades where it's like, hey, listen, like, I can get involved, but we got to be paid because we're going to be doing some engineering or modeling to really understand like how we get this project done efficiently. Same thing. Hey, we're going to bring on the framer and they're going to model this in 3D, but they require a retainer to do that. Client, we'd like to roll this into our pre-con process to make sure that we're setting this project up for success.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like your team of consultants, right?
Yep.
And I think that when you are selling these services, when you are selling accurate pricing, accurate budget and scope development, you need your subs to be tied to this. They need to be engaged early, and maybe they need to be incentivized. And for my subs, usually it's just that I don't have them price that much stuff that when I do, they know that it's a serious job, right? And having a pre-construction agreement or contract in place is typically enough for them that they'll do their due diligence and they'll spend the time on it, because I'm not sending them jobs left and right that they're just wasting their time on. But if my plumber came to me and was like, hey, I need, $250 just to make sure that I'm not wasting my time on this, no problem. Like, I build that into the cost of the pre-construction. And I explain that to my clients as to why, and that why these numbers will be accurate. And then that also creates accountability with my plumber, where it's like, now we're paying you to do this work. This isn't just a free estimate or a free quote. Like, I really need you to spend the time on it, and it should be accurate because we are compensating you for it, whatever it is. But that's when I start bringing them in, is like, once we get through, a lot of if there's questions with engineering and development of scope early on, I'll bring them in. But typically it's not until like that we're actually going to visit the site, where like design's pretty much developed. We're looking to finalize pricing, scope, and budget to make sure that what we initially assessed is accurate. And I'm scheduling that site visit with all of my subcontractors to make sure that everything's accurate and in place. They can meet my clients. My clients can meet them. They can bring up any concerns that they might have in front of the entire team. Again, to establish that trust and that credibility, and walk through what we're going to do and start discussing with the clients how they want to spend their money. And it's just about establishing that trust. It's just about developing that rapport. And it's to engage them early on and hold them accountable, and be able to protect them and their time from clients. There's clients that want to waste people's time as well. And I don't want to do that to my subs. Like, so many subs are just in the mindset where, hey, we have to price jobs for builders. That's what we do. And like, I don't want to be that builder.
Right.
I don't want them to have to run around and work after work and get me pricing and not actually get paid for that. To me, that just, if I have the luxury of not having to do that, I don't want the rest of my team to have to do that. That would seem unfair to me.
The money that you might spend with a sub to bring them into pre-con, I would argue that you will get back because they will price the job more competitively. And not competitively in the sense that they make less money, competitively in the sense that every other builder they're working for doesn't have their shit together. So they're padding their number. All their number is a collective average of how every job goes in the past, whether they're documenting it or it's by feel. But if you approach it and it's clear as day, super accurate, and you're working towards a goal and they understand that, hey, you're bringing a ton of value to this, they're inherently going to understand that and say, hey, this isn't going to be as expensive because we're thinking about it ahead. That is the value add for all parties. The client, you're getting the best possible outcome for the best possible price. You're getting a competitive price. The plumber is getting a project that is actually well thought out and considered before they start. They're not only operating efficiently and being profitable, but now they're building a really good relationship with you, and they will continue to be a solid partner to you.
It's also worth having the conversations with your subcontractors, like at what point they want to be brought in, because like I know what I need, and I know what makes sense with my process, but like I have a mason that wants to be like, he wants to visit the site before a napkin number is thrown out, and like that's just what he does. There's no convincing him otherwise. Hey, I don't need you out there now. Like, we have plans. You can just throw some numbers that, no, I'd rather see the site. And there's been many times where he's gone out and like what I would have anticipated or explained to him from a scope perspective from the outset would have been completely different than the way that he was assessing that site. And it saved my ass quite a few times. So like, he understands that things can change, and he's somebody who wants to get out early, and I'm not going to prevent him from getting out early. So whatever he needs to do, get him out when he feels comfortable getting out. But a lot of my subs are just busy, and it's like, let's do as much of this digitally or virtually as possible until we absolutely need to make the site visit. And then we'll have all the information that we need, and we can assess what we kind of anticipated, and compare that to what actually needs to happen. But we know that going into this, we more than likely covered ourselves within the budget to be able to move numbers around and make everything work. So when you're going to bring them in kind of does depend on your sub and your system and your processes. And I have a standard, but there are exceptions to that rule. And my mason's one of them, who like always wants to go out early, regardless. But at the end of the day, so much of this comes down to protecting yourself and protecting your subs, and ensuring that even like, right, your subcontractor agreement and your job specific work order ties back to your master agreement, which ties back to your contract. So like, they're tied into your client as well, right? So you're protecting your subcontractor from issues that you might have with your client as well. So it's just a way to make sure that everyone's on the same page, that the expectations are set forth, and that you're giving yourself like a realistic opportunity to meet your client's expectations. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what dictates a successful project. Like, did you hit the budget? Did you hit the schedule? Did you manage those things well, even if you didn't? And then did you meet expectations? Because you can hit budget, you can hit schedule, but if your expectations didn't hit the mark, like, the client's not going to be happy, and that job's a fail. So all part of pre-construction, all part of this subcontractor engagement and agreements are setting those expectations, not only with your subcontractors, your team, but with your clients as well. So if you've gotten burnt by subcontractors before, if you've had clients burn subcontractors, if you've had issues, make sure that you have a proper agreement in place. I think it definitely behooves you to do so. If you're interested in what we created, Nick and I have discussed creating a bunch more templates like this. For right now, we have not done that, but we are putting this one into our pre-construction course because it makes the most amount of sense to get these subs engaged in this manner. So that's just something. If you've already had the pre-construction course, this is something that we're adding to it that you're going to get for free. If you purchase it down the road, it's something that's going to be in there at this point, but to hopefully get you and your clients and your subcontractors protected. So if you've purchased the course and you're listening to this, I added this into the section. Let me see what it is right here. Design coordination. No, that's the architect one. I'm on the curriculum. Where is it? Procurement and contracts, that module. So there's a subcontractor selection. I put PDFs in there, but then I also, if you scroll all the way down to the bonuses section, I added a bunch of forms and bonuses in there. So right in there, you can get the job specific work order template for subcontractor engagement, and then the master agreement between contractors and subcontractors. They're in that. That's the actual forms or the documents that you can edit within the coursework itself. It's just a PDF so that you can see it, but you're not going to be able to edit that. So I have it in 2 places in there for you.
There you go. And if they have not signed up for the course, we do monthly workshops, guys. We're doing this. We're committed to doing a live event. It's totally free. And if you want, you can pay attention on social media, but the best way to learn about any of this, you got to sign up for our newsletter. We're dropping. I mean, I've been sharing actually a ton of really valuable templates. I actually shared, I think it's like a 40-page career document a couple weeks ago. A bunch of you guys have reached out. So we're just giving this stuff to you guys. We want to be helpful. This isn't about anything other than like learn from us. We're developing it. It's selfish for both of us to just be leaving this stuff on our computers and not giving it to you guys. So moderncraftsman.co is our website. All the way at the bottom, you can click and sign up for our newsletter. We just need your name and email and you'll get right into it. But that's where we're going to provide all the stuff behind the scenes, templates, invitations to the workshops, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're not signed up, you're missing out.
By the time this comes out, this workshop, we're going to be digging into more heavily pre-construction and subcontractor engagement, how we do that, the specifics of these forms. So that has passed by the time this comes out, but depending on timing, there may be a sale running still on the course. So what's the best way for them to find out about that, Nick? Email?
Sign up for the newsletter.
Or you could reach out if you're interested and you can't find that, reach out to Tyler at trghomeconcepts.com.
Or hello at moderncraftsman.com.
There might be a few days left on that sale by the time this comes out. We're still working out the specifics on that. So if you did miss the workshop, sorry, but you might have access to the course and these documents still.
That being said, guys, we'll see you next week.
Trust my mama, you're no match for my bad karma.